Wait for it, boost! Rhoda! Man, am I ever bad at high fives.
Come on, you bitches, y'all gonna die!
Rage 2.
This video is in no way sponsored and actually has a neato story behind it. So cutting to the chase, I get a call from Bethesda and they say,
"Hi, Badger, would you like to play one of our games early?"
"Yeah, but can you just hang on for 1 minute?" Suck shit, nerds! Guess who's big time now? This guy! Guess who's playing Doom Eternal early? This guy! Guess what, shitfucks?
Actually, we were wanting to see if you had any interest in Rage 2.
What? Yeah, I was totally expecting for you to say Rage 2 and not Doom Eternal. What are you talking about? But big companies like EA, Ubisoft, and Bethesda can't just send me a big-ass file called rage2.exe because they can't trust me not to leak it to all of my friends, all of their friends, and maybe my old roommate, D-Master Flex, who I would consider to be a superhero if it wasn't for the crippling alcoholism, especially since there was no contract and no money involved. So what did they do? They sent a dude to my house, who for the sake of anonymity, we'll just call J-Dog Slew. I mean, J-Dog. He set up a laptop with a game pre-installed and let me go to town for 90 minutes. So that's it then? I could really just do whatever I want?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, don't worry then. In that case, I'm only gonna do the dumbest shit imaginable.
That's fine, it's your video.
Cutting me some slack on the story/characters/overall broad shit because I treated the intro tutorial like a frame-perfect speed run and then was dropped into full-on endgame max stats character mode. Here we go. Rage 2 is about the greatest source of renewable energy in the history of mankind.
Rage! Die!
At its core, you are a living, breathing whirlwind of violence designed to eviscerate anyone and anything in your way with extreme prejudice. They're gonna need to clean you up with a pop. Try to imagine the main character who goes by the name Mr. President as a human chainsaw because he exists to be dangerous. Time for my favorite sound. Ping! 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 And over time, he grows chainsaw limbs, laser beam eyes, and sets himself on fire to ascend his dangerous qualities to new heights. Wow, I am really high. This danger is manifested in minor hazards like a razor-sharp wingstick, moderate hazards like weapons that appear conventional but are not, and severe hazards like augmented superpowers that can transform any fleshy mammal into an organic soup. Something. Soup time! String enough of these hazards together and you unlock yourself a powerful steroid that makes all of them better.
Overdrive!
You'll never catch me, crabs! Not when I shift into maximum overdrive! If you still have that dumbass anthropomorphized chainsaw floating around in your brain, try to imagine that I poured gasoline on it, shoved a monster in its mouth, and blasted it open with a firecracker. Because everything about you that was already dangerous just got 10 times sharper, hotter, faster, and more terrifying. Bang, 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 bang. I don't even think I'm pumping blood anymore. It's like 100% testosterone. You do, buddy. But I realize there's quite a bit to chew on there. So weapons were the bulk of what I experienced about the game. And although the wing sticks are neat, I was initially disappointed because I popped up the scroll wheel and thought, wow, are these really all the guns in the whole game? Which is where J-Dog introduced me to weapon number 1. The shotgun. Looks like an ordinary shotgun, right?
Wrong.
It's an ordinary shotgun while firing from the hip, but aim down sight and your scattergun suddenly sprouts vents, that I call gills, that morphs the weapon into a concussion dispensing shoulder cannon. That way you've got 2 weapons in one, where you can blast a wave of buckshot or pinpoints a forceful concussion depending on who you're fighting, how far away they are, and what you want to do with them. And to the moon, Batman! Yeah, that was just the tip of the variety iceberg, because of course I expected a shotgun that hit like a gravity hammer. Of course I expected an assault rifle for mowing shitters down en masse. But it was only when I landed at the Firestorm revolver that things really started to click. Or should I say, snap. Oh, there it is! I think the visual does it justice, but if you're still catching on, try to imagine shooting a stick of dynamite into someone's skin and blowing it up with the snap of your fingers, because if the explosion doesn't kill them, they're still gonna burn to death. Stop. Drop. And burn! It may not have exterminated half the universe, but I really started to see the potential for destructive creativity with the snap of my fingers, because whether it was 6 slugs in 6 guys or 6 slugs in 1 guy, their fates were in my hands. You know, I'd give you a high five, but I don't have an oven mitt. Or an infinity gauntlet. And you can't forget about what I said earlier, because Overdrive skips over the snapping and turns the projectiles into goodness gracious great balls of fire. Damn, is it hot here or is it just me? Just kidding. It's definitely just you.
you.
The more you explore and the more you exterminate, the more arcs you can pry from the hands of your cold dead enemies and the more neato weapons you can find and fuck around with.
Mr. President, welcome to ARC 409C.
What I love about these arcs, beyond gifting you unique additions to your arsenal, is they give you a perfectly controlled simulation to test them out with, not only to learn how they work, but also to make a call on whether or not you'll use them. Take the hyper cannon, for example, a rifle that specializes in collateral shots that penetrate multiple enemies.
I played Modern Warfare 2, I'm good at this.
I could tell J-Dog was eyeballing me like I was some shitter not worthy of an early access house call because I failed to collateral headshot any of the stationary dummies, which made me look like the dummy.
Still not hitting it.
But after some more tries, I not only realized that enemies flinched and that I needed to aim for the chest to collateral, but that the Nintendo DS-looking magazine was small as fuck and I needed to upgrade that bitch. I mean, I also realized that Overdrive turns the weapon into the world's scariest t-shirt cannon.
Thunk, thunk, thunk. Why does this thing only have 3 bullets?
But as I was saying, the magazine was literally 3 bullets, and it desperately needed upgrading, which conveniently could be done rather easily. Boom! Larger capacity. Boom! Armor penetration. I didn't have enough Feltrite or weapon core mods or $dollars to get anything beyond that, but my point stands. The arcs where you originally find these weapons are the perfect environments to test how these weapons work, how they can be best employed, and what, if anything on them, needs upgrading, because whatever you're firing probably needs more DACA.
That's more like it.
The shotgun, the revolver, the hyper cannon, even the rocket launcher that transformed 1 rocket normally to 6 rockets in Overdrive.
You know, I'm no scientist, but I think this hurts 6 times as much.
All fantastic options, but none of them belong in the same breath as the final weapon I got my hands on. The Grav Dart Launcher. Can you help me out here, Susan?
That is the Grav Dart Launcher. It allows you to connect a host to a target and accelerate it towards said target. The stronger the connection, the stronger the force.
You heard right. Try to imagine firing chunks of metal into your adversaries and planting a magnet at the desired destination. The more metal, the faster, and arguably more painful, the ride.
Yo, and I cannot stress this enough.
Yeet. Undoubtedly my favorite, not only because the Overdrive is nuts.
It's about to get real 2007 up in here, because now you're thinking with portals. Let me say that a little bit louder. Portals.
Your training is complete.
But more importantly, the greater the creativity, the better. Launch them off a cliff, crush them to bits, punt them off the mountainside, even impale them on a tree root protruding from the ceiling. It's all up to you.
Gravity hurts. All right, buddy, let's see your dismount. Let's see your dismount. Solid 8 out of 10. What about you, little guy? You have got them on distance, not on technique. Now, hold on a second. They're not dead yet. Now they're dead. You might think flying coach is bad, but this is definitely worse.
No matter the jarring power of these weapons, the ultimate weapon happens to be you, because the icing on the cake, your armory, happens to be your left arm. No foul language! Which can transform enemies into soup, give the world's worst high fives, block incoming fire, and spawn a black hole if you're feeling Elon Musky. Yeet!
I love the way that id Software thinks. You want to give him a grenade?
Nah, give him a black hole. By far, the easiest way to evaporate any snarling oxygen thief standing in your way, but I tried not to spam them too much because I wanted to test the spectrum of varied and amusing ways to murder meatbags. Sometimes good old gravity can yield quite the giggle.
Meat gravity, little guy.
Ouch. How about you, meat? The cooler gravity. If anything, they are the perfect transition between kills with your primary, because if you really want to tear an outpost in half, you need Overdrive, and to get Overdrive, you've got to stack as many bodies as quickly as possible to jack your multiplier higher and higher so you can gain faster and faster. These abilities are the best way to keep your momentum and intensity at maximum levels to essentially have revolving Overdrive, so you can OD over and over and smash the whole enemy enclave into oblivion. On that note, I especially enjoyed the enemies. You've got these Ultron-looking dudes, so you can rage against the machine. The armored dudes didn't feel like bullet sponges because every landed hit ripped more and more of their Kevlar off, which I found extremely rewarding, and one of those tenacious little fuckers even screamed pizza time at me. Pizza time. Yes, there are neato vehicles for roaming the wasteland, like the Icarus flying speeder bike and the jacked up monster truck so you can cruise Ace Ventura style. Lose
sir.
I imagine this will be well executed because Avalanche Studios made Mad Max, which I found to be criminally underrated, and they can pull off some seriously impressive shit when vehicles, explosions, and post-apocalyptic landscapes are on the menu.
The grunt used rock. Mr. President used vehicular manslaughter.
Yet I didn't feel like the vehicles, the progression, or the loot was what made the game shine. It's definitely id Software and the Doom-like combat experience this game is all about. Almost everything else seems like means to an end. I'm certainly not complaining with the pizza party amount of fun I had, and keep in mind I only had my hands on it for 90 minutes.
Pull! Bang! That's one exploder down. Bang! 2 exploders down. 3 exploders down. And I don't even feel bad, because the fall's probably gonna kill him anyway, so why not channel my inner Dick Cheney? Am I right, fellas?
But that was enough time to learn that Rage 2 is about crushing a monster, lighting yourself on fire, and rampaging into a horde of baddies while you pop your overdrive and scream,
Burn the world and boil the ocean!
And that is about it. That's the best I can squeeze out of 90 minutes.
In my brain, it still feels like a Far Cry, only instead of being about character development or a story or some kind of plot twist,
It's more about sticking yourself with adrenaline and dismembering somebody in the most visceral and elaborate way possible. Much closer to the I'm going to tear your arms off side of the spectrum as opposed to what happened to your family, random NPC. So hopefully this was somehow entertaining or helpful or neither. Either way, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and be sure to tune in next time when we don't self-immolate.